remember when my oldest daughter, who is now 8 years old, was a baby, I used to love our bedtime routine. It was my favorite part of the day, especially when I went back to work after maternity leave, because we really could bond. I was able to spend special one-on-one time with her, and I knew that our day was ending. However, as time evolved and she got older and I added a second baby into our world, bedtime became something that I just needed to get done. It became almost like another chore, and I really was looking to find the balance between that, between enjoyable and chore, to keep it short and sweet and condensed, and really something that could work for all ages, right? So at that point, I had a baby and a toddler, and how was I going to make a bedtime routine efficient, loving, and safe, and a thing that we could all enjoy, but that I could be done with in like 20 minutes. So this is what I'm going to talk to you about: how to create short and sweet bedtime routines for your babies and toddlers. Hi, my name is Sarah, and as a certified pediatric sleep expert, I have helped over 500 families one-on-one and thousands of families in my group coaching programs to get the sleep that they need. And we all know that a good night's sleep really starts from a great bedtime routine. However, some parents really struggle to establish that bedtime routine in a way that works for their family, their multiple children, their work-life balance, and it's something that I'm so passionate about helping families with, so I can't wait to dive right in and help you too. The first step to creating a very sweet and efficient bedtime routine is to look at your timing. So for children up to the age of 7, I really want bedtime to be done by 8 p.m., meaning I want them in their crib or their bed when lights out, no later than 8 p.m. And there is really a wide range for this. If you work from home, or if maybe one partner is not working outside of the home, if you have additional help at bedtime, all of those would be great reasons to actually shift that bedtime a little bit earlier so that you can end the routine sooner. Now, why 8 p.m.? Is that some arbitrary time, and why is it effective? What science tells us is that when our children, ages 0 to 7 years old, fall asleep sometime between 6 and 8 p.m., we are capitalizing on their sweet spot of sleep. They have a really big increase of melatonin and adenosine, which are our body's sleepy hormones. They have a decrease of cortisol and adrenaline, which are their body's awake hormones. And when we fall asleep before 8 p.m., we know that we are going to be able to get into a deep non-REM sleep as our first sleep phase. When we're not asleep by 8 p.m., unfortunately, what we could be entering into is the zone of overtired and wired. And you might notice symptoms of this with your toddler, all of a sudden getting that second wind, that second burst of energy. Maybe your baby at that point becomes really inconsolable, crying a lot, or having a lot of false starts, so falling asleep, waking up, falling asleep, waking up. This means that we've missed the optimal time for sleep. It doesn't mean that they won't fall asleep. They will. It's just not going to be as easy, and it's going to take a little more work on your part. So, to recap, I want to make sure you set your timing that's realistic for your family. For example, many families that I work with are working parents, and they pick their children up from school or daycare or their babysitter's house sometime between 5:30 and 6. We get home, we get dinner on the table at 6:30, and then we move into baths at 7. This is where, in the next part, I'm going to talk about what you can do between 7 and 7:30 to really bond and establish some loving quality time with your children, and then be able to get them in their cribs or beds by 7:30 with lights out. This obviously gives you 30 minutes of wiggle room to make it before that 8 p.m. mark. But my biggest tip is really just making sure that you're setting your time ahead of time so that when you come home from the end of the day, you know exactly what your goal is for lights out. Tip number 2, we are going to make sure that your routine has pretty much the same steps for every single night. Children love routine. They love when one thing comes after the next, and they know what to expect. And when we can keep it consistent in that, that way, particularly from the time they are babies or even young toddlers, you're going to see less pushback from them because they know that the next thing is coming and they just have to go on to the next step. For example, we could start with a bath if it is a bath night and if a bath is something that is calming. I do have feedback every once in a while from families that baths actually rile their children up, and it really seems to negatively affect their state of calm. It stresses parents out because their children aren't listening, and it's just not a really great way to begin what should be a peaceful bedtime. If incorporating a bath into your bedtime routine is stressful for you, don't do it. It's not a requirement. I suggest doing the bath as soon as you get home, maybe even before dinner time. And I know some parents' feedback is, well, they get messy at dinner. Put a bib on them and wipe them down with a really warm washcloth. I mean, if it's going to create more peaceful bedtime routine, it's okay to kind of switch the order of that. However, if your routine does include bath or whatever it is to kind of set it off, what I want to make sure you're doing is really ending your day and beginning what is going to be bedtime. So we are leaving the kitchen, we are leaving the family room, all of that is closed, they are sleeping for the night, the cupboards are closed, the refrigerator is sleeping, and we're really making sure that we are setting the scene to go into bath and pajamas with a lot of peace and knowing that our day is done and the next steps are going to be sleep. Your pajamas have been put on, you've done your lotion, you've done your diapering if your child is still in a diaper, and the next thing to remember is that now we are going to keep this quality time very short and sweet. So I know, especially for families who are working, that this time can feel like it's the only time of day that you have to spend with your child. And we often put pressure on ourselves to look at the clock and say, well, this is the only 30 minutes a day I get, or the only hour a day I get, or I really want to spend time with my child. Totally understand. I was in that position too for many, many, many years. However, I want you to remember that your child really doesn't understand the concept of time and really values quality over quantity. So sitting down and doing something with your child that engages them, that really enriches your relationship with them because it's something they are interested in and that they enjoy. I prefer as a sleep consultant to have calming activities, right? So that would be like reading books, listening to music, even incorporating what occupational therapists call heavy work into your bedtime routine to really ground the body. So examples of that would be any type of physical movement, such as like a downward dog, doing L-sits on the wall, pushing the laundry basket back and forth, giving deep squeezes, giving compression, jumping because you want to get the wiggles out. Those are ideas to really meet your child where they're at while also making sure that their body feels really calm and ready to enter into sleep. How long should this take? Honestly, this part of the routine, 10 minutes, maybe 15. I really want to encourage you to keep it short. Your child, as long as you are giving them your undivided attention, as long as they know they have you and only you and your phone is put away and there are no other distractions, 15 minutes is more than enough. And it's going to be really helpful in preventing any type of pushback. Or for your toddlers, I want one more. I want one more book. I want more drink of water. I need to use the bathroom, blah, 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 blah. So keep it nice and short with that goal of 7:30 or 8 o'clock in your mind for lights out. The last step of the routine is to put your child in their crib or their bed. And I think this is the place where many families struggle. And I want to make sure that you do not feel alone in your struggle in attempting to put your child in their crib or their bed, having it be quick and painless, and you being able to then leave the room and go about the rest of your evening routine. Many families will call me and say, well, like, how do I put the baby or toddler in their crib or bed awake? There's just no way they'll fall asleep independently. And this is where I coach people through sleep training. So when we want to encourage our little ones to fall asleep independently, this would require us to teach them behavioral sleep methods that make them feel comfortable and confident in their sleep space and in their own ability to fall asleep from an awake state completely on their own without the assistance of their parents. You can feel free to check out my sleep training videos to get more information about the sleep training methods that I typically teach to my families one-on-one. And I also want to encourage you to head over to my website to learn more about my one-on-one packages. So not only do I have free resources for families, I also support families on a one-on-one basis with a 98% success rate that allow your family to reach your sleep goals in 3 weeks or less. Realistically, the length of time that it should take to be able to put your child in their crib or bed and then be able to walk away is just a few minutes. I love you, good night, we've snuggled for a little bit, I will see you in the morning. And once a child has independent sleep habits, they'll be able to, from that point, fall asleep on their own. And what will that look like? They might roll around, find their comfy spot, sing, babble, talk to themselves, snuggle their stuffies or their loveys for anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes, and then they'll fall asleep on their own. What does it look like if you need to assist your child to sleep? You would have to be putting in that work for sometimes 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes. And that's the place where a bedtime does not feel peaceful, or sometimes it feels like a chore. Remember how I said that in the beginning of the video, that bedtime started to feel like a chore for my family when my daughter got older? The reason was she wasn't falling asleep independently anymore. I had really subconsciously almost gotten stuck in this routine of falling asleep with her. And as a 2-year-old in a big kid bed, this would take at least an hour. Some nights I would fall asleep in bed with her, sneak out. She'd still wake up in the middle of the night. Other nights I would be too exhausted when I'd finally ninja crawl across the room and leave to actually do anything. And this is what I want to encourage parents to make changes with. If you find that you are spending much more than 5 minutes beyond lights out in helping your child fall asleep, and you feel like you dread bedtime or you dread overnights, this is the point where we want to make some changes in order to make the entire evening much more enjoyable for your whole family. If you can tell, I really love helping families get their sleep in order, and I love providing various amounts of resources for families of any age range. So I would love some feedback from you. So if you find this content helpful, it's always helpful for me to know by giving it a like and even leaving a comment below. I love to answer questions in the comments specific to your family's individual sleep challenges. So head down there. It's always me who responds. It's not a robot or an assistant. It is me, and I will help you troubleshoot your sleep challenges below in the comments. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you are the first to know when I publish my new sleep content. And like I said before, head over to my website. I have lots of resources there as well, and information on how to get in touch with me to learn more about my one-on-one and group coaching programs. As always, from my living room to yours, thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you next time.